Greetings, sir and sirettes, and welcome back to From the Depths with me, Lathrix, and of course, welcome to 2021, where we're going to be doing the first build of the brand new year. Today, we're going to be finally building myself a testing vehicle. This is a vehicle which will have all the necessities for us to test out different weapons, different engines, and all that usual stuff. Normally, we would just have a simple testing platform somewhere on the water, but I think I want it to be far more interesting, and in fact, a completely viable vehicle. Will it be a combat-ready vehicle, something which will actually be competitive? No, but it's going to be really fun because it's going to be a satellite/space station, which is going to be completely accessible by the player. At least that's the idea, with the core of it being the main weapon. Now, today, I really want to test out the huge missiles, the new larger variants of missiles, and I want to make a cluster missile. And now, there's actually a new thing. Here we are. The missile wireless transmitter and the missile wireless receiver, which essentially allows you to have the missile, rather than all being clumped up as one big thing, you can split it along the craft. So my idea is we have the core, which is literally the missile, and it's going to be absolutely bloody huge, and then we have several layers of the satellite where you can walk around, you can do your sciencey stuff, I suppose, is going to be the theme of it, and then it's going to keep on going down all the different layers of the missile until the weapon itself, and at the very top it's going to have a sort of living area slash this is where all the actual vital components will go. It's going to be really vulnerable and really fun, and the idea is, with the AI, we're going to make it so it just hovers very ominously above its target before unleashing the weapon. And then we can have different versions later on with different weapon types, such as the particle cannons. Because the missile is so huge, the space it's going to leave will let me build pretty much anything there, and then just spread it across the craft. Okay, long explanation out of the way. This is going to be a pretty big build for me, so let's get started. I think, honestly, just placing down the missile first is probably our best bet. This thing is going to be big. Okay, let's go with this size for now. So this is the main missile, which is going to be the core of the craft, and then we're going to have all the different platforms kind of coming off of it. Okay, so I can't actually attach on the side, which makes complete sense. Yeah, I'd be attaching to the missile itself, so we're going to have to be a little bit clever working around that, and sadly being clever is not my strong point, but still, that's going to be the idea. But first, I think I want to try and build up the very top section of this thing, which is going to be the sort of core of the craft. And what I would like is for it to be a hexagon or an octagon. I think that would look really, really cool. Because normally I end up building these, and I do honestly just build them as squares. So let's see if I can quickly throw together a basic idea of this. Now, one of the issues is the fact I want this to be symmetrical around this, the huge launcher, which is a 3x2. Now, I think I can get it to work, but essentially, what I think I'll end up with is the two slopes like this, then connecting with a few single slopes at the very end. So I'll end up with not quite the symmetry I want, not a true hexagon, but a hexagon with tiny little extra corners. Essentially a very weird octagon. But I think it would look kind of interesting, but we'll see how it turns out. I just explained that really badly on a side note, but we'll see how it turns out. So, how I'm going to extend it is like this. So instantly, it's not going to be quite perfect, because these are going to have a 2 gap, and then these will have a 1 gap. And how bad is this if I ever swap weapons? Yeah, it seems to be mostly a problem of this missile being the way it is. So I think instead I might scrap that idea and just have the symmetry around here instead. This bit will just be attached at the end, so the symmetry is around where I've placed the missile controller. Yeah, that's fine. That's what I'll do. That way I can do the original plan. Okay, so this is actually the third one of these I've built. I've decided what I would rather have is that the traditionally flat sections here are a little bit longer than the diagonal sections. I did do a more perfect one, which is all symmetrical, but I didn't like how it looked. I prefer this. I just think it looks a little bit more interesting. Yeah, definitely like that. So that's going to be the base of all this. Yeah, I just double checked. The diagonals are 16, these are 19. Okay. So, essentially, I want lots of glass up here. There's going to be a core in the center, which is going to be a small hexagon, which will contain a lot of the stuff like the ammo, the fuel, blah blah blah, and the engines. Then most of this will be open. There'll be some glass on the floor, so you can look directly down. And then there's going to be a staircase, which descends to another layer over here, which I think will just be a square. We'll see. And then they descend, they descend, they descend, and there's going to be things all sticking off them and everything to make it look a bit more interesting. I think I'm going to continue to build up the shell before doing anything else, though, so let's see how those little layers would look. I'm actually really enjoying this build already. Oops, Daisy. I'm already breaking this build already, I should say. Okay, just added a bit of a temporary flooring just so I can see what this is going to look like. And honestly, I'm really liking it so far. This section was surprisingly difficult to do because there's so little space in the core here. I've had to use a lot of mimics, which means originally I wanted the ladders to go here, well, the stairs to go here and kind of wrap around, but I think that'll just be too awkward. So I'll probably just have them off to one side. I'll probably have one set of stairs here going up, and then one set going down here, and just keep on alternating like that. I think that'll look alright. I'm kind of sold on this shape at the moment, although it isn't quite symmetrical, so I will be changing it a little bit in just a second. All I need to do is just bring this one in. It's not really a big deal there. Yeah, I do like that. So I think I'll stick with the squares or the rectangles and make them slightly smaller to go along, but also have things attaching on the sides, so it seems like you can keep on attaching different things to the craft, because that's the whole point of it. So not much has happened between clips, but now I have to make a choice between how combat effective do I want to make this thing, or do I want it to be completely for testing in the sandbox. And although I do want it to be a viable craft, and that's something that works completely fine by itself, it doesn't need to have me here giving it unlimited resources and stuff, it is definitely going to be more for the sandbox, because we're going to have these huge glass windows and everything else. It's going to be vulnerable in multiple sections, but I want it to look more civilian, science-y. Yeah, well, not really civilian, it's still going to be military, but you get what I mean, not meant to be in the front lines of warfare at very least. Outside of a few symmetry issues, honestly, this has been a really relaxing build since we're focusing almost completely on the actual looks of the thing, which I'm not particularly good at, but getting the practice I do find very, very fun. So, command section, which I think I'll reshape in a second, then we have blank, blank. I want this to be the engine room, which is most likely to be RTGs, and this will be storage and ammunition, everything else like that. Eventually it's all going to be closed off, so going through this you'll actually have to go through the corridors, so I do want it to be nice and easy to get around in. And this will be all the control stuff. So basically just the actual control blocks, and actually this is going to be the only one without this section, since I do want a full piece of glass all here, completely open. Starting to add some of the functional components. So what I'm doing here is just adding some lighting, which is the movable lights, which I'm going to put underneath the RTGs, which will make them all glowy and stuff. That looks like a room you shouldn't enter. Lovely. Although it's probably just going to be open anyway. Maybe I'll lower the intensity in just a moment. So we're going to have the RTGs and the batteries in here. I'm trying to make the batteries look interesting as well. Oh yeah, way too intense. Probably don't need every single one of them to have its own light. We'll see as we go. Okay, this took me 15 minutes. Just putting this Larry like this. 15 minutes of my life for that. People who use all of the mimics, who do all of the different mannequins, the Larrys, in really good positions and make everything look really lively, I have the utmost respect for you. 15 minutes! For one thing! I have made a table! It took so long again! Oh, no one's gonna see the table, but now it needs a mug. There we are. A Larry just chilling out, protecting us from harmful radiation. Feels like brain melting. Okay, first battery set is done. Nice and simple there. Don't really want to spend too much time on all the little details here. That's definitely something I'll come back to in the future. I just wanted to make it look at least somewhat interesting, so we have a lot of just random stuff attached to it, so it looks... yeah, rather than just like a block of random batteries. Same with that. Just want to add like a little meeting area here, perhaps like a whiteboard or something here, I don't know, just make it look a bit more interesting as well, and maybe one or two Larrys just kind of idling around. Okay, time to test something. Now, I'm fairly certain this won't work, but if it does work, I will absolutely love it. So we have this little missile section over here, connected to the wireless receiver. Ignore how badly this is all built, this is just for the test. And then that is connected down here to the missile receiver. This is connected to a temporary AI. And the idea is, can we load this large missile with its cluster controller wirelessly with missiles from over here? I am 99% sure this is not going to work, but if it does, it's amazing. Now, either way, even if it doesn't work, I'm going to run the missile blocks all the way through here, through the flooring, so that we can have the missiles on display, we can have them on the more showy gantries, because that would just look really awesome, and I like the idea of the people working here working on the missiles constantly. Oh my god, it actually works. We can wirelessly transmit missiles. That had nothing in it, by the way. That's just a tiny section of the missiles we can fit in this thing, by the way. I think we can maybe fit... Well, we can definitely fit hundreds upon hundreds of that size of missile. We could fit much larger missiles and make it more deadly. But yeah. That's pretty awesome. So we can wirelessly transmit missiles. That is so weird, and I love it. Okay. The best thing with this, though, is that we can have multiple layers of different types of missiles, and then if we don't want to use that particular layer, all we need to do is swap channels, and now the missile can't draw from it. Which means we can do multiple tests very, very easily. This might be the best addition to the game in a while for me, because this makes missile systems way easier to place on craft. I'm thinking on planes under their wings. I'm thinking having all of this really well protected in the core of the craft, really in the core, with no vulnerable little connector pieces going through the craft if we have a cluster missile on the bottom. This makes me very happy. I think I really need to start working on functionality soon, and one of the problems is, right now our centre of mass is really high, so all of our propulsion kind of wants to be on this little mini ring I'm building. Don't really want that, so we're going to have to start building with heavier stuff further down. Of course, the actual weight doesn't matter, but the mass certainly does, since we are in space. I've also just realised, yeah, having this opening straight into space doesn't make any sense without an airlock, but then I've also remembered, oh yeah, I'm a robot. So I don't really care all that much, just make sure that all this is somewhat secure. I don't know, it somehow works, and the Larrys, well, the occasional Larry being sent into space, I am fine with. Are we at a slight angle? We are, and we are slowly descending. I guess a lot of that is just from me moving around, since I do physically impact the satellite. Yeah, so note to self. Functionality very soon. I'm going to add a second set of stairs over here. I've decided I don't really want these corridors here, so they're going to be absorbed by these two rooms and used for something else. Or maybe there could be some kind of defense. We could add some laser defenses on the side here, which just would look pretty darn cool. Don't really know right now. Just going to do the whole stair thing. And also ladders would make more sense here, but I like stairs. I like how they look. So I'm going to add the stairs, then we're going to start working more on functionality, keeping this thing stable and everything else. Okay, so I got distracted. There we go. So at least now they're all attached to each other. I was going to have some stairs going down this way and kind of meeting in the middle, but instead I do want to use this section for something, considering there's a good chance now that our centre of mass is going to stay quite high. We may end up having the thrusters up here, so I've left this place a bit blank. Currently the centre of mass is off to one side, because over here we have all the batteries and everything, which are quite heavy, and over here we currently have nothing, because we haven't worked on it yet, so I'll work on balancing that later. We can always hide very heavy things around the craft to balance it as we so desire. Oh, I love that look though, with all those stairs. I'm going to try and use a lot of these blocks as well, because I think it would look really nice. Don't know where, but I definitely want them somewhere. Ooh, I mean, like here for instance, just to have an example. So I'm thinking, because of how large the top section is, we can probably get away with just having ion thrusters on the side, actually in this base section, and obviously I'm building this up, so soon enough I can start hiding everything else like the lights. So, yeah. Just have them in there, then we can armor them up and have like just sections of them showing, and that should be more than enough to balance the craft in terms of roll and pitch, since we shouldn't be too affected by that anyway. going to say just pop them right in the corners, just a little bit off. So, like that. Yeah, that should be pitch. Really should be a bit further forward then, really. These could be roll. Okay, never mind. These will be roll instead. That's absolutely fine. Like there. That's roll as well. Change the ones I just added. Then I'll quickly add a PID. Or I could use AI PID for this. For now, I'll just use standard PID just so I can figure out what I'm doing. Which is a very rare thing for me to actually know exactly what I'm doing. Oh, they fit perfectly here. Okay, we'll have two then like this. No, not pushers. Though we do need those very soon as well. That's the only thing. I'm not sure where I'm going to be putting the... Ooh, oh yeah, this is here. That could be a problem. I kind of overdid it with the back thrusters here because I want them to... Well, I want this to be kind of hanging there and everything and accessible by this layer. And partially accessible by this layer, so I'm going to add some stairs going up to the underside of this. I guess I could just literally install it into this, so we have the downwards ones on the bottom here. And that'll be pitch. Yeah, sure. In fact, I'll put them on the end. Like this. This is why it takes me so long to build anything, because I'm so indecisive. Okay. Yeah, still not sure where I'm going to put the thrusters to actually control our ascent and descent, but we'll figure it out as we go. And actually, I'm going to move these two a little bit more forward, as much as I wanted that to stay. Let's just put this right up in the edge here, because I may extend that bottom section a little bit further. Already on pitch? Cool, cool. Because currently, if I try and move forwards, it's going to probably shoot us upwards, I imagine. Yeah, like that. Oh, I love the new ion drive style. Well, it's not really new anymore, but new for me, because I haven't used it since. Yeah, we don't really need all that much to get quick, because, you know, the whole we're in space thing. That just looks like he's talking to it. Look, I know you don't like me, and I don't like you, but please work, otherwise we're gonna die. Or it has voice commands, which actually makes a lot more sense. Now I've said it. Oh, I'm so bad at using these still. It's still something I really have, like, no experience with, and the result can be, well, it can be odd, to say the least. You know what? I'm gonna make him look really confused about everything. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm afraid, Larry, you're very confused, Larry, and you're gonna be touching your butt, apparently. Not quite what I wanted. I'm meant to be, like, hip-touching, like, I am confused. Sure. Sure, that's it. Like, yep, you are talking to it sternly because it is not doing what you want it to do. I'm glad this Larry is in charge of roll or pitch or something. Also, wow, the PIDs are huge. Maybe we should give them seats. No, these Larrys controlling PID are all going to be very confused, and they're going to be very statically like this. That looks alright. Oh yeah, I will definitely be putting a lot more hours into this, but for now, let's just... I'm just doing the basics so I get a grasp of it. Yeah, I'll do one on the opposite side as well, and this will be, I don't know. Well, this one was pitch, just... For now, just leave it all as pretty much default. Sure, pitch, and pitch, there we are. The same over here, but for roll, and let's have it so I can see the screen, thank you very much. Roll. Roll. There we are. Leave it as a default, we will mess around with that later to make it a bit smoother. Actually, your character's a bit of a beefy boy compared with the mannequins as well. Oh yeah, don't jump in space, this can happen. Wish there was artificial gravity on the craft. Come on, try and get... Ooh. I am actually going down. It's going down faster than we are. That's not good. Yeah, this is why we need everything to be sorted. And everything's fine. Okay, so we have some top ion thrusters here, since we're going to be adding the roof soon. Do I want anything above the roof? You know what, I think I do want some small buildings above the roof, but it's going to be quite haphazardly placed. I want them to be less there to be symmetrical, more there just because it looked cool for them to be in a specific place, like a radar system and everything else. I think it would look really cool. So that's fine. Then we'll have these kind of in their own little silos. They're not moving currently because I've locked the ship into place. So down here, then what I want is one more smaller ring, which is going to be essentially a copy of this one, which will attach something to, I'm not quite sure just yet, so about here, and then one more slightly larger ring, just a bit smaller than this middle ring, which I know right now is a rectangle, but you get the point, about here. This will have the upwards thrusters. I've got to be honest, so far I'm actually really liking it. Once I've got all that sorted, I think we'll probably end there, because there's going to be a lot more to do. And I do want to complete this in 2 episodes, unlike the carrier, which is still in progress, because there's so much I want to do with that, and so many different ideas. This I want to be finished, because it is, in the end, our weapons platform. I will also be testing out the missile soon. And then various other things. Had to redo loads of the steering, because apparently I was building it for someone the size of a small rabbit, but now we can definitely go down there, that's fine. I will say, actually getting around on this craft, because of the whole zero-G thing, is incredibly difficult. I'm actually not activating the magnet boots, because I kept on getting stuck on, like, levels and then not being able to move anymore. It was really, really weird. But now that's fixed, yeah, I can now perfectly access everything. Lovely. It just means, though, if this craft ever moves up or down too quickly, I will be flung into space. So, that's something to bear in mind, you know, a hazard of working on a space station built by Lathrix. You have a good chance of being thrown into space. I'm actually tempted to start making some of these platforms spin, especially the bottom one, which currently is just holding the ion thrusters. The problem is just trying to get it all symmetrical. In fact, it's going to be impossible since the point of symmetry here is between 2 blocks. Yeah, that would actually make it impossible, wouldn't it? Unless... No, I could still have it on a spin block. If I push the spin block with a piston... Alright, does that actually work? Okay, let me have a quick check. Because I would love to just copy and paste this and have this bottom section here slowly spinning. I think that would look so cool. But again, it's impossible to have the symmetry between 2 blocks. So, let's say I add... Where are you? Sub-objects. Then we have the piston. Only need to be a small one. That's fine. Ta-da. Make sure it's actually extending the correct way. Actually, no, it doesn't really matter where it's extending, but I do want to check it out anyway. Whee! Can we do it 0.5? So it could put a spin block then between 2 blocks. At this point, this should be between 2 blocks as long as I can put a spin block on it. Sure, let's just, resting is really slowly spinning. Whoa, okay, I'm gonna get nauseous very quickly. Very slowly spinning. Okay. So that should now, in theory, be between 2 blocks, and it is. Oh, that's gonna be so vulnerable. Another problem is I don't really have anywhere to anchor it, so I'd have to build it all the way up here before the missile starts. Then use light blocks, which can go through anything. The light block is completely ethereal, but allows for connections. It can be useful for creating complicated mechanical assemblies, such as... Okay, so now I need to find out, will a light block get hit by a missile? Because it will act anywhere along this line. Okay, will it get hit when I fire that? Oh look, an enemy has appeared. It is a crossbones. Nope, straight through. Okay, so only enemies can hit it. Fantastic. Still gonna be incredibly vulnerable. Oop. But we just don't care. Randomly releasing a swarm of missiles there into the ether. Okay, I'm gonna make this a spin block. It's gonna take me a long time to sort out, but I'm gonna sort it out. It's gonna be awesome. Make sure it's actually working as intended. Lovely. Now that is having some effect on our movement since it is a true spin block. So what we could do is have a counter spin block to negate that. Though I can also just negate it through the controls of the craft itself, so it's not really an issue. Also, I'm getting a weird optical illusion, as if this isn't completely flat. And I've checked it so many times, I keep on thinking it's not the case. But it is flat, because I'm looking crooked, like it's pitching one way more than the other, but it isn't. The whole thing is stable with everything else. Oh, I love how this is coming along so much. I see so much potential for these 2 layers, which are clearly not done yet, for the extra rooms. Oh, I am having so much fun, it is insane. Okay, then let's finish this off in a very similar style to how it was in the first place. Still can't believe the lengths I've gone just to have this spin block here. It is clearly not going to work in a campaign or anything. This thing will get shot down in seconds. Any hit nearby and all these thrusters would just explode because of these light blocks, which are explosive, which are then going through the only weapon on the craft. It's a little bit precarious, to say the least. Okay, in a second we'll go below 1,500. The PID should kick in a second. Lovely. It'd be a lot more obvious if we were actually less balanced. But there we go, so that spin block is now in place. Let's make sure we can still fire a weapon. Yep, we can. Fantastic. We're sitting comfortably at 1,500 meters above sea level. We can raise or lower that very, very easily now at a simple change of a PID. The front section isn't finished yet, so we can't actually turn properly or properly hover over a target, but this is essentially the idea. I'm actually considering making this middle one a little bit smaller. So it goes smaller, then it extends with this outside section. We haven't even really properly done this yet, it still does a lot of damage. So, that is all I have time for today. I really want to continue. I have been recording for way longer than I intended to today. I wanted to do something else after this. I thought this would be a nice easy thing, but it wasn't. But I have loved building this so far. I am so looking forward to having a few hours again to try and build more, so I really hope you've enjoyed as well. I will be looking for name suggestions in the comments, and any other ideas for things which should be on the craft. This will be our go-to testing vehicle, so no longer will I have to constantly build something new, or mess around with things, or build platforms, or even use a quite boring platform. This is what I will be using instead. Our floating station above Nita, ready to kill everything. No idea why I said it like that. Clearly I'm getting very tired. It's now very much in the morning. I started in the afternoon. So thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed today's video, then of course, likes, favourites, shares, comments, all that good stuff helps out me, helps out the channel, and most importantly, shows that From the Depths is a series you wish to see continued in the future. Loads more to do with this, I promise. I will be back doing this and the Adventure series very soon. It's a new year, and my main resolution is getting more time a day to record in a more healthy manner, because at the moment, well, before the new year, I was recording in a burst, exhausting myself, and it just wasn't a particularly good thing with everything else going on. I'm gonna try harder to be a bit more consistent, and honestly, it's just loads of fun. Thank you for watching, goodbye, have a lovely day, do take care, and until next time, goodbye.